Hello, thank you, Gabby. Thank you for Casual Connect for giving us the opportunity to present what we have done so far. I would first like to explain to you how I planned out the presentation. First of all, I want to explain to you who we are and what we did in the global arena and what we plan to do next and the lessons we learned by servicing the games directly. FinCon is a Korean-based company. The word FinCon is an abbreviated form of fin, coming from finger, and con, coming from control. So we currently have about 77 employees. We are a very indie company at the moment. We were very lucky to be partnered with very good friends. So last year, we were selected the 2015 Studios to Watch by Facebook. I understand that there was only one Asian company who made the list. And App Store, our second game, Angel Stone, was selected the best of 2015. And of course, Editor's Choice on the iPhone and iPad. And once again, finally on Google Play, recently we were selected as a top developer. So we were very fortunate to have worked with these great partners. All right, so our company was established, let's see, it's not been 4 years yet. We were established in 2012 in June in Korea. We started off with 11 developers, all of them of which came from the online RPG background, which was pretty strong back in those days. So what we did was we set off on a mission to make, what we do best, make games. When I first met my CEO, the questions he asked me was, first of all, do you like having fun? And I said, of course, why not? Who doesn't like to have fun? And the second thing was, the second question he asked was, all right, we've made a game, and we would like you to service this game globally. And his plan was to do it directly without using any publishers. And I thought he was crazy, but I love crazy. It's what a lot of Korean people don't have at the moment. So it was fun. It was fun to start off. We started off with a start-off investment of less than 300K. And so far, we've developed and serviced 2 games. One is Hello Hero, and the second one is Angel Stone. So I want to take you back to 2013 when we first developed Hello Hero, and to look at the decisions and why we made those decisions back then. If you look at this chart, the percentage of people who use a smartphone back in 2013 was very, very low. If you look at Japan, for instance, it was only 44% back then. Countries like in Brazil and Mexico were less than 50%. And so when we thought of making a game for the global market, we've noticed that it was not enough to just have the game up on the smartphone. So what we did was made it into a cross-platform game, a game that was playable both on the mobile and on the Facebook Canvas, and later on the Samsung TV. So it's all synchronized. It's like Candy Crush Saga, where you can play on all 3 platforms. So what we wanted to do is, regardless of where you lived or what you had, you were able to play our games. We would like to say that we were one of the first companies, successful companies that gave birth to this mobile turn-based Hero Collection RPG. We launched our game back in February of 2013, and as you can see, all of the other titles followed in Lu. Brave Frontier, you've heard of that, Summoner's War, Touch Monster, Seven Knights, all of these games, were very, very successful later that year too. All right, so we were an indie company. Yes, we did start off with a small budget, but most of that budget was spent in developing the game. We took about 6 months to develop Hello Hero. So when we started to first release the game in Korea and in the global arena, we had no marketing resources. And second of all, because we did not use a publisher, we did not have a user base. And thirdly, we had no experience whatsoever in the mobile space or in servicing a game or operating a game. All we had was our experience in making RPG games. So what we decided to do was, let's start making a community. Let's start making that user base. I mean, what use is it of making a good game with no one to play it on? So what we did was we selected 2 platforms. One was Facebook for the global community, and the second one was Naver Cafe for the Korean community. So we started at zero-based. We made a fan page, and we were one of the lucky ones. Back in 2012, Kakao Talk platform took up with Anipang, with Dragonflight. In Korea, it was getting bigger, but there were not a lot of RPG players back then. So we were one of the first ones to put our games up on Kakao. And in user acquisitions, they really helped us a lot in getting a lot of users to the game. On the global side, what we did was we serviced the game in 150 countries in 12 languages in a small office back in Korea. And we started off with a very small budget, $5 to $10 per country. We did not select the big countries. We did not just go and say, all right, the United States, Japan. We said, all right, let's see where this game, where the players come from. So we spent $5 in Argentina, $7 in Southeast Asia, and let's say Thailand. And we spread out our budget on a daily basis. And if one day we got $80 in revenue, we would spend $50 the next day in acquiring more users. So that slowly, gradually picked up pace, and that's how we got our users on the global arena. And currently, to date, we have about just over 11 million registered players all over the world. And as I said, we started from a zero base on the Facebook canvas, on the Facebook fan site. Now we have about 4.2 million Facebook likes. That's a photo of our fans back in Thailand, I think in 2014. I understand that 4.2 million Facebook likes stands at about ranked 34 in the world in terms of app fan pages. And I would like to just go briefly through the installs by country for Hello Hero and Angel Stone. For Hello Hero, of course, Korea was one of our biggest markets. The user base, a lot of our user base came from the Philippines, China, Thailand, and Japan. In the case of Angel Stone, a lot of our users came from the United States and from Vietnam too. So it was evenly balanced out in South America, Southeast Asia, in the United States, and in Korea too. All right, but we did not service the game directly in all countries. We took a few steps, and I will go through what we learned in those steps so that when you make your own decision, and please understand, this is our case. I guess it goes by case. It goes differently by what genre you are in, where you're starting off. So I just want to give you a brief idea of what we did and what we learned from it. All right. For Hello Hero, we as I said, we did not go directly in every single country. The 3 countries that we did not go directly into, but worked with publishers, were Japan, Taiwan, and China. Those were the 3 countries that we decided that we had no knowledge of how to market the game and how to service the game in those regions. So in the case of Hello Hero, the other countries except for China, Japan, and Taiwan, we serviced it directly by ourselves in FinCon. And for publishers, we used good partners in those 3 countries. So that was a multi-build. Angel Stone, which was released last year, is a hardcore hack and slash RPG. It's a dark RPG. It's a real-time party play, and it's got the PvP aspects to it. It was a very heavy game for the mobile space. We wanted to make a different game. A lot of the Korean games back then in the RPG space were concentrated on the autoplay. Although we've implemented that feature back into Angel Stone recently, when we first started off, we wanted to put a game out there where the hardcore players had fun in actually controlling their the characters. But in the case of Angel Stone, that was one build. We did not use any publishers for that game. All right, so let me just go briefly through the pros and cons of the multi-build and as well as the one build. All right, the multi-build, the pros would be that it's a bug-free game, right? You have already serviced the game in another country, like for us in Korea. So when the time came for us to release the game in Japan and China and Taiwan and globally, we had the time to fix all of the bugs in the game when we released the game in those regions a few months later down the road. And because we worked with publishers in those regions, the localizations was very polished, and they were able to provide a dedicated local team to market and service the game. On the con end, the resources, the burden on a small indie company like us was really heavy. Like for the case of China, we had to build about 60 builds for just the Android market alone. Later on, of course, we compiled that into a few builds, but that was just for China alone. Then we had to make a different build for Japan, a different build for Taiwan, and a different build for the global market too. So that was a very big burden on a small indie company like ours. And in the case of working with publishers, we were one of the many games, right? If you service your game directly, you can wait. You can wait and see when the game does better later on down the road. But if you work with publishers, the con side was that they had a lot of game lineups later on, down the road. So if your game did not do well in the beginning, it would be very difficult for them to market your game later on down the road, all right? And the third thing was it was difficult to promote on the platforms. The platforms are Apple, Google, and Facebook. Because it was a multi-build, there was not just one counterpart at those companies that we could talk to in getting the game featured in those regions. So going on to one build, all right, the pros of the one build was that it was we could get direct instant feedback from the players. We were always able to talk to them. We were able to read the comments on their Facebook, on the forums, on the chats, and we were able to see what they're having problems with, and we could quickly implement what changes that they needed. And the second thing was the engagement of the developers. The developers themselves could see the reactions of what the players were saying. They did not have to go through a third party to get and understand what the players were wanting. The horrible thing about one build is a land of no return, all right? What I mean by that is once you find a bug there, once there is an issue with the game, And once you've launched the game, you can't go back. There's no time for you to fix the game. You have to pull down the game. You have to do a maintenance break, and I'll talk about that later on. And the second thing was on a one build, because we don't have that user base that the publishers do in that certain region, we had to start off with a small user base. And in terms of local customer support, which is pretty important, we weren't able to support each and every single language with a one build. All right, okay, and I want to just go through and see, all right, Korea is a very competitive market, and so is the world, and I guess so is everywhere else in the world. But I want to look at these two games, Clash of Clans and Summoners War. These are the only two games I see that have been both successful in the global arena as well as Korea. I mean, there are a lot of games that have been successful in Korea, but not on the global stage. A lot of global companies have wanted to come into Korea, but recently there's been a few Chinese companies that have been making a mark. But I want to look through what these two games did and why they were successful both in Korea and overseas. The first criteria in making successful games is, of course, great team. You need a great team, but that's not all. What you need is great teamwork within the great teams. And second, which I hope, which is pretty hard, is luck and timing. The ability to understand what is coming next in the next phase is also a pretty important factor in a successful game. The lessons we learned by both servicing the games, Angel Stone and Hello Hero, globally and in Korea, we've made a lot of mistakes in this process. I'm not saying that we were pretty successful the whole way down. We made a lot of mistakes, and what I want to do here is have you not repeat the same mistakes that we did, all right? The first thing was quality. We were, as an indie company, we were so focused on making the game and releasing the game as soon as we thought the game was completed. That is a no-no. After you finish the game, what I hope all of you, and we will do later on, is keep on polishing and looking at the game over and over again and testing the game so that when we are really sure that the game will do well, that's when we'll release the game. The second is service and network. The cons of us developing games in Korea is that the network in Korea is really good. So developers work in an environment where the service and network is really good, and they forget about the network in other regions all across the globe and how bad that was. And so we need to focus on that. And the contents, it's really easy to just focus on one area of users, like let's say the veterans or just the beginners or the paying users or the non-paying users. But in a game that you want to have service for a long time, I think you may have to concentrate on all of these users, from beginners to veterans to non-paying, small paying, whales, all of them. You need to be able to have contents for all of these users. And the interaction between the live team, the live operation team, and the development team is also a very important factor. Because what they're thinking and what the live team is thinking is always different. So quality, back in those days and back in 2013, back in 2012, quality was not a big issue. There was not a lot of competition back then. Now the competition is very strong. So if you do not focus on the quality of the game, the users will just hop on to the next game they see on the App Store. The network and the game has to be very stable. This is a chart of Angel Stone, and the yellow lines are the maintenance breaks that we did in the few months that we serviced the game. And as you can see, the people, you might think the players like updates, but usually they don't. They usually want to play a game that they're used to. If new features come into the game, they're always asking for it. But if something new comes up, a lot of your users will probably be leaving your game. Of course, if you have a method of getting in new users with the new update, that is a different story. But if you don't have that ability to bring in new users, usually maintenance breaks really hurts your game. All right, so I talked about the all-around contents. Let me go a bit into details. All right, for the beginners, you need to focus on the initial loading. If it's too long, the users will go out of the game. Most of the issues here, I guess, are all understandable. A simple guide. The UI and the UX have to be simple, no matter whether it's a casual game or an RPG game. It doesn't matter if you're just focused on, let's say, Korea or China and that certain market, but if you want to have a game that you want to go globally, the game has to resonate to all of the users up there. Level up bonuses. Put in bonuses like in the level 5 as you grow up, level 10, level 20, level 30, level 40, all right? Give the beginners a goal to jump up and just continue to play the game. And of course, social factors are important aspects there. For the amateurs, the quests and rewards are a strong factor in the game for them to keep returning back to the game. And of course, the guilds and the leagues are not important to the beginners at this stage, but to the amateurs who want to get stronger, to go up to the veterans, that's a important factor. The growth factor, a thing that we did wrong with Angelstone was that the leap of characters getting stronger was too wide. So what we will do in our next games is chop up those factors and make you feel that you're growing and you're getting stronger each and every time you play the game. And meaning that you don't have to play a whole week before you feel that you've gotten stronger. And the difficulty level, make the users want to go to a difficult stage. Meaning that there's not just a normal stage, make a mid-level stage, make a hard stage, make a nightmare stage, and so that they keep on continuing to go and wanting to play the game. The veterans, they're all focused on the rankings and the recognitions. Put in aspects into the game so that other players realize who and what they are. Like in the chats, put in icons or features in the chat so that they know who's talking to them, so that they realize whether to listen to that user or not. And top tier items, of course, are very important, and competitive contents too. On the business model side, you also need to focus on the non-paying users, small to mid-paying users, and the high spenders too. They are all important. The non-paying users put the base for the high and mid-average paying users. Without the non-paying users, the game will not survive a long time. So put in a lot of aspects in there. What we've decided is we're going to be putting in a lot of video ads into our next games, a lot of events and retention quests for the non-paying users. And for the small to mid-paying users, start off with a starter package. Say, all right, if you let's say an item is $3.99. If you buy this package, as you progress in the game, as you get to level 20, level 30, level 40, at that point, in-game currency will be provided to them. And include a core item into those packages. For the high spenders, whatever competitive contents that you have in the game, they'll work towards that. The VIP system in China works well, but in the rest of the world, they're not used to that yet. So what we've decided is to put a mileage system into our game where the mileage keeps on adding up, and later on with those mileage points, you're able to go in to the in-app shops and buy core items where other players would not be able to buy in the other stores. All right, last few pointers is branding. For Angel Stone, we started branding the game 5 months before we released the game. So as you can see in the numbers, our cinematic trailer already had hit over 400,000 views 5 months prior to the game launching, and already had about close to 10,000 likes and 4,000 shares. User focused. The users are everything in the game. Just don't focus everything inside the game, but focus outside the game too. Have them participate. In our case, we made players design their own characters, and we implemented them into the game. We added characters like the Muay Thai character for Thailand, the mummies for Egypt, and Vikings for the Scandinavian countries. So we spread out and focused on localizing and having the user participate in the game. Have a lot of user-generated contents. As the engagement of the player gets higher and higher, what happens is they get more and more loyal to the game. They're happy with people liking the comments that you put inside the game. And for, let's say, for Clash of Clans or Clash Royale, as you can see in these days, you have user-generated contents where you can see the replay. They learn from the replay. They learn from the comments that the other players put in inside the game. User communications. Keep on talking on the community sites, on Facebook, on the cafes, on the forums. When they realize that you are continuing to understand them, and they will keep on playing your game. Pre-registration is also one of the small factors that you might focus on before you release the game. Retention. I have a lot of quests, like not just the big quests that you have in the game, but focus on the daily quests, the weekly quests, the monthly quests, so that give them something to keep continuing and playing the game, so that I mean, it can be small. You don't have to be giving them a lot of in-game currency. Give them stamina. Give them 5 stamina for this, 5 stamina for that. But a player, as they play the game, they're not ready for that achievement reward, but they're really happy to get those. And of course, events within the game. Make different packages for all types of users so that they can select what type of packages that they want. And so that's pretty much it of the lessons we learned. So with the lessons learned, like I said, we've released 2 games so far. And I would like to take this moment to announce that FinCon will be releasing our 2016 lineup. The first one is Hello Captain. It's a management RPG game. Our second game will be Hello Hero 2, Epic Battle. It's a real-time strategy RPG game too. RPG is in a DNA, and Project D is a table RPG. It's a casual table dice rolling type of board RPG. So these are the 3 lineups that we'll be releasing later this year and early next year. I wish the best of luck to all of you in making your games. And yeah, and I thank you once again to Casual Connect and to all the members here for listening to my presentation. Thank you.